We are Steve and Jill.
Together, we've been buying and reselling land since the 90s.
Our data-centric approach leaves our buyers asking, how can you sell it so cheap?
Here on the Land Academy Show,
We answer that and more. I'm Stephen Jack Butala.
and I'm Jill DeWit, and this is the Land Academy Show.
This is episode number 2016. And today, we are talking about when Jill and I were poor. This is our story of getting caught in the real estate recession without a property acquisition pipeline and a lot more. And this was not that long ago.
You know what's interesting? I never worried. Maybe, I don't know if that's nature or nurture or what. I don't think you have that same feeling.
Boy, I really want to cover that topic.
Okay, good.
Because I think it's really important for people. The recession is here, and it's going to get much worse from a real estate standpoint way before it gets better. Like in the next 3 years, we're going to go through this. And
It's going to be interesting.
You have a bunch of choices that there's a lot of things you can do right now before it gets bad that I want you to learn from my mistakes. That's my point.
Mm-hmm. That's why you're here.
Each week on the show, we answer a question from our Land Academy member Discord forum, and we take a deep dive into a land-related topic by popular request from our Land Academy community. Let's take one question today, Joe.
One? Okay, cool. Jenny wrote, "Hey, y'all. I just talked to a seller about a piece of land that I want to sell for my offer price of $11,752. Sweet. It's 2.65 acres with a house, chicken coop, and a workshop on it. There's no septic, though, or any kind of sewage. In the area, it's about $20,000 per acre without anything on it. In this state, Pennsylvania? Okay. And it's right off of a main road. I asked why they were selling it, and they said they just couldn't keep it anymore, and the kids don't want it. They need the cash fast. They sounded emotional. No back taxes, etc. So, of course, I'm sending someone out there to take a look at it and take a lot of pitch. But I'm also pinching myself a little bit and wondering what I'm missing. I've flipped derelict houses before, but they said this is in livable condition. At this price, I kind of don't see how I can go wrong. Is this just the model working? So my question to the group is, what could go wrong here? How can I lose?
Nothing.
That's it. Isn't that funny?
Land Academy's working for you.
Yeah.
Or you're making it work for you. It's interesting because I have this same reaction as taps into a topic today. I have the same kind of doom and gloom reaction. Well, what am I missing here? Everything worked. I followed all what I was supposed to do in Land Academy, worked through the education, reached out to people in Discord like you're doing right now, and it worked. So I must be missing something. Jill would be jumping up and down saying, let's get this thing closed.
That's right. Done deal. Let's go.
Let's get on to the next one.
Yeah.
And that's my advice to you here. You are not missing a thing. Make sure that you get an inspection. It's all the regular stuff. Make sure you get an inspection before you close. It sounds like you've done flipped house deals before. Mm-hmm. Make sure it meets with your approval. There's going to be some stuff in there. I'm sure you're not going to renegotiate the price. You're probably going to sell this for 50, 60, 80, 100,000 bucks.
You know what's interesting about this? I think this taps into what people see a less than perfect structure, whether it's a falling down mobile home or a house that's old or it's not hooked up to everything. You know what I mean? Like we have running water, but we don't have this. Sometimes as problems. And that could be what's going on in the seller's mind. It's not a perfectly beautiful mowed, treed piece of land. It's got the structure on it. But in reality, we both know that it's all positive. Because if it was just rural, vacant, stupid, nothing on it, not even mowed, it's worth, what did you say, $20,000 an acre, and you're getting 2.5 acres kind of thing. And you're getting with a structure on it. Yeah. So the big picture is when you get to these situations and you're concerned about what condition this is in, you're doing everything right, Jenny. Sit back and say, if it was just vacant land, would I still buy it for $11,000? And if the answer is yes, you power through. Because no matter what, this is anything on it, it's a little asset. I don't care if it's like I said, falling down shed, a couple of rusty parked cars there. Somebody's going to want them. What?
I agree.
Were you going to add a little something to this? Is that what you're doing?
What I'm doing is looking up for the name of the person who actually wrote this because I'm not sure it was Jenny.
Oh, oops, sorry.
So my bad. I apologize.
Okay. Well, we're calling you Jenny. Sorry, we didn't have time to find the exact name, so it's all good.
Look, here's the thing. It's, what Jill and I are famous for in our
Mhm.
personal lives, complicating things and over-talking things with each other. It doesn't happen in business for some reason, because I think we're just like, let's buy it or not, and let's get it done. And so just don't ever overthink it. I would personally get this thing under contract, get it, go through the motions of buying the piece of property and reselling it, which sounds like it's going to happen fast, especially in this environment, this economic environment. This is cheap housing. This is affordable housing. And then I would really sit down and with myself and figure out what I did right and try to duplicate it, because you did it right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you seek out properties with structures on them instead of just vacant
Yeah.
land.
What was the percentage? Did you accidentally, was there a percentage in there of improvement that snuck into your mailer that you didn't know about? And ding, ding, look how you won.
I'd take a look around Pennsylvania.
Maybe go get those now. Yep.
Or the Midwest or whatever, and see if there are a lot of properties like this. Maybe the assessor knows that there's improvements, or they don't know. Maybe it's showing up in the data and it's not. Really dig in and duplicate it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Hey, before we get to the topic today, I want to ask, are you just trying to be Joe Cool wearing your Ray-Bans?
Oh, no. What if I had Ray-Bans on this whole time? Sunglasses.
I'm like,
Forgot.
you're all hip. He's got his
I learned a long, long time ago. It takes way too much energy to try to be cool.
Oh.
Like, you're either cool or you're not. And I'm not. So
Well, wait.
I don't have to spend any energy on that.
Being cool is not trying to be cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So that makes it cool. So you are cool.
No.
That was an accident. I'm going to vote that I was also cool because I gave you those Ray-Bans.
Yeah, you did.
I
so
didn't necessarily
cool, Joe.
put them on you today. Wouldn't that be funny if I dressed you up and I put little accessories on you like that?
If you ever meet Jill, don't encourage her.
Oh, thanks.
Don't tell her she's cool or anything
Oh,
like that, 'cause
thanks.
she loves that stuff.
You stinker.
Today's topic, it's about when Jill and I were poor. It's our story of getting caught in a real estate recession without a property acquisition pipeline.
I want to say two things. This is, number one, this is not cool. But
This topic?
yeah, the topic is not cool, but it's real. And when you want to hear that, well, I want to just make a point too. That's one of the things about us and about Land Academy and why you're here. We are not brand new. I'm not done my first 100 deals and I've been at it for a year and a half and I know I'm the best. No, we've been at this for you 30 years, me 15. So when we're talking about when we were poor too, we're talking about the darkest one because we have both been through recessions. You in this business, I've been through
Twice.
one major one in this recession. You have more under your belt. And that's the whole point. And I hope this is why you're listening. Like, you want to be ready. You don't want to be stuck in a pickle. And we're going to talk about all the different things. I know you have a whole speech here, stuck with a bunch of property that you're financed. That's the last thing you want.
Yeah.
So go right ahead.
So in the beginning, very quickly, in the beginning of in the early 90s, I casually was buying and selling real estate in all different types of forms, houses, commercial property. And I started selling land a little bit later in the 90s and realized, wow, this is it. So from the late 90s to around 2007, 2008, we did tens of millions of dollars. This is before I met Joe. And everything was going great. We were the lead seller on eBay. It was about the only place that we sold property because it was so efficient. It would post a 30-day auction. It would sell. We would double or triple our money. And my whole life was focused on, for that decade, being a land acquisition expert. And we were great at it. Probably the best in the business. In fact, I'm sure we were the best in the business. We were invited to meet the executives of eBay more than one occasion in Washington, D.C., which we went.
You were making them rich.
Yeah.
You had auctions closing hourly, and they had, back then, I don't think it was a percentage. I think it was a flat fee back then, closing costs. But you were helping making them rich, this is nothing to sneeze at. I want to brag for a second,
Well,
just
the name
say.
of this episode is not, we were cool.
Well, I want to I want to talk about the peak and the valley. You're getting to the valley. I'm going to say the peak was pretty high. Again, you had auctions closing. You were doubling and tripling and more your money on these things. And it was just a machine, and no, we didn't have the eBay issues back then. Everybody was all excited, I'm sure. So go ahead.
I lived on a yacht in San Diego.
Yep.
I mean, it was very successful financially and it was a machine. and we had no real competition. What we had was a very serious single point of failure. And that single point of failure was our sales channel, which was eBay. And so this recession started to happen in 2007. The same things that are happening right now were happening in early 2007. And so houses started to foreclose based on what we'll call irresponsible lending. We'll just leave it at that. And all kinds of things happened. And ultimately, banks started foreclosing. It was really serious based on those irresponsible mortgages that they were lending on and backing. And so it didn't affect us. I had the greatest false sense of security ever. We sailed through 2007. 2006 was our best year. 2007 was almost our best year. And then 2008 rolled around, and I was beating my chest, sometimes literally saying, we are immune from the rest of the real estate. With all the terrible things that are happening in the real estate industry, we're immune. I figured it out.
Yeah.
Nobody else has ever just purchased land and sold it on eBay, auctioned it off like that at breakneck speed. And so I'm just going to go through this. Well, that's not what happened. What happened is like the recession got so bad that people didn't have any extra money to purchase these what are now I realize are unnecessary assets. When you buy a piece of land, it's not necessary. It's a luxury. It's some kind of thing. You're buying it to build a house out in the future, or as an investment to resell or lease it.
Recreation.
Yeah. Well, it caught up, and people stopped bidding, and people stopped buying real estate altogether. For whatever reason, Jill and I met each other around this time.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
That's sad.
I still think about this.
It is kind of funny.
So I was defeated.
As the yacht's going away.
Yeah.
I remember being in San Diego. You're like, if I had my yacht now, you would be on it. I'm like, well, thanks. I think. Yeah.
I should have just said nothing.
Exactly.
That's like
you came in a little too late, baby.
Thinking about buying you some flowers. I guess maybe I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Try that on your girl.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
I would have bought you some flowers, but
Maybe tomorrow.
I would have bought you a diamond necklace, but
So I had a lot of, I had no commercial debt. So no debt that was associated with the business and a ton of land.
Yep. All paid for.
With no debt. But I had multiple houses, a yacht, and 2 office buildings, and all of those had really responsible type loans, but we just couldn't service them anymore. And a lot of huge payroll. We had a lot of people working for us managing these auctions, and so it imploded on itself, and I had to manage all of that. There's a couple of times where I thought I may have to file personal bankruptcy. We were poor. That was it. Enters Jill.
It was dark.
And she says, well, wait a minute. Look at all these assets that you have. So I couldn't see the forest through the trees there. It was, I thought my life was over kind of thing. So we sat down after we got to know each other for a while, probably a year maybe, or maybe it was close to it. Either way, it doesn't matter. And we worked out how to liquidate these assets through Jill's talent, Jill's sales talent. So she got out my Rolodex or my whole contact list of people that are in the business that were still trying to make it on eBay, none of whom were really doing it well. And she started negotiating deals to sell this property that we had so that we could breathe and live, and it worked. What we ended up doing is changing the process about how we sold property, not how we bought it. That's always worked. Buying real estate the way that we buy it works in the worst of times and the best of times.
True.
But you do have to change how you're selling property and the types of real estate that you're buying and selling based on the economy, and I'll get to that in a second. What she did was with me together, we looked at these lists and lists and lists of asset types that we had, and she liquidated them. Some of them at a loss, and I didn't care. I just figured they were.
Can I jump in here and give my recollection?
Assets. Yeah.
Recollection?
Sure. No, you tell yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell my recollection here first. So you were not happy. Let's just say that you were busy with other things and keeping personal wheels on the bus. And my recollection is here. See this computer? This is our external hard. You had this whole extra computer that you sat me down and logged me into. You built this whole system, acquisition, engineering, sales, into this computer system. It was beautiful what you designed. And you're like, it was almost a knock yourself out. It was like, here's what I did. in the past. Here's what worked. This is what good photos look like. You gave me all the framework and the instructions, and then kind of walked away because you were mad, and I don't blame you. No, and just like, hey, let's see if anything happens. And then what was true, you had written, there were hundreds of properties in there that you had just written off. You're like, oh well, that's over. That ship has sailed. County's gonna get them back. Who cares, right? And then, so I would go off. I was off, kind of putting things together and figuring it out, and making postings and selling things, and calling people and talking to them and working out deals. And I remember you coming to me after like a month or two or something and said, so, because we had a separate little bank account. I was putting all the money in the separate little bank account under your direction. And I'm sure you thought there'd be $100 in there. But you came along and you're like, so how's it going? And there was a lot more than $100 in there. And you're like, what just happened?
I do remember this.
And and I remember saying, I did exactly what you told me to do. That's all that I did. And that's one of the things that still stands the test of time too with Land Academy. Forget what you think, forget what you know, forget what your gut's telling you. Put your head down, follow his steps. I did. And guess what? It paid off. It worked. And it was great. I was really good. For whatever reason, in life, I don't necessarily always follow all your directions.
That's for sure.
Especially now. But
especially she slides these little one-liners in there, especially now.
Yeah.
Then she moves on really quickly.
But no, wait, the things that you are an expert on, I will follow all your directions, and I still do that. And this is one of the things that you know very well, how to buy and sell land. And I did what you said, and it worked out great. So that was the beginning of I think there was a light at the end of the tunnel there that this stuff's not, we weren't, you know what? So maybe you bought something, you wanted to sell it for 10,000. We're selling it for 6,000. Big deal. We were still keeping food on the table.
That's a great example.
Moving things forward. That's what happened. I don't remember really having any big losses. I really don't. I just remember not making as much money as we hoped we did, but who cared? They were all paid for a year ago or 2 years ago. It didn't matter. And we sold them, and we never had to go to some of the really drastic measures that you were preparing for.
So here's what happened. That was the low point. Jill's described the low point, and she helped us crawl out of that cash crunch hole. What was happening in the environment, in the economic environment back then, is very, very similar, if not almost exact, to what's happening right now. Back then, people were encouraged to sign what were called subprime mortgages. So it was a variable rate mortgage that had a very, very low introductory rate, below prime, thus the subprime, name. And then it pretty quickly caught up to whatever the prime rate was. It was very variable. And then it never planed out. And so it was easy to sign these loans. It was easy to get people to sign these loans because the payments were so low.
Right.
They were below regular interest rates. Well, guess what? Now they're called adjustable rate mortgages, 3 to 1 and 5 to 1. So they are fixed now, because all the laws changed because of this, what they called predatory lending back then. I just think it doesn't matter what it was.
We all saw the movie.
What it's called now is variable rate mortgages. So 3 to 1, 5 to 1. So you have a locked in rate, and we had amazing interest rates over the last several years until now. For 3 years, you have a 3% mortgage, and then it catches up to the rate, which is now 7 or 8%. 3 and 1 and 5 and 1. So that happens 3 years or 5 years. And all of those time, if you sign a mortgage back 3 years ago or 5 years ago, your mortgage is going to double. So this is going to happen again. Do I think there's going to be massive foreclosures across the board? No. That's what there was back then. So what we did, she got our cash balance up to where it should be. We bought and sold a few houses, we renovated them and made some dough. And the last one that we did, we moved into it. So then we didn't have any debt. We had no debt personally at all. I renegotiated everything and liquidated the assets with the lenders. I was working on that, and she was working on generating cash. And at the point where she generated the cash and I got rid of these other loans, office building loans and things like that, we started to buy foreclosed houses for $40,000 and $60,000 and selling them for $60,000 to $80,000 to $100,000. Those houses are worth $300,000 now, and they were worth $200,000 or $300,000 before we started this. So we knew these assets. This is the exact same thing that's about to happen. over the next 2 to 3 years. And we made very, very, very good money doing this. And we will again.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I wrote, and Jill and I wrote House Academy. HouseAcademy.com is this whole how to buy these houses using data.
Mm-hmm.
You can go there right now and check it all out. And so then, too, I'll tell you, because land is last. It's not first. Land is last in line to see the
feel
horror.
it.
And so we bought tons of land at way, way below. People were foreclosing on houses. They didn't care if they had land.
Mm-mm.
If you send them an offer and say, I'd like to buy your land for $5,000 and it's worth $180,000, they're going to sign it.
Get it out of here.
They might be filing personal bankruptcy at that time and signing your offer saying, yeah, can you pay in cash?
Yeah.
And so we were poor,
Mm-hmm.
and we dug ourselves out of it. Fortunately, really fortunate for me, I met Jill. She brought something to the table that nobody in my life had, including me.
I want to talk about the big takeaways here, that how you can really prepare yourself. Like, number one, pay cash for stuff. What are the things that we did that really saved us? One, they were all paid for assets. Nothing. We had no loans on anything. Certainly not
debt.
personal.
You don't not want institutional debt.
Right.
And so if you have institutional debt right now, you have about 12 to 24 months to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a fixed rate mortgage, attempt to solve that somehow.
Mm-hmm.
If take a look at your mortgage, read it, and see if it's going to change, and plan for that day. There's a day. 1 month your mortgage will be a couple grand, and the next month it's going to be $4,000. Please find out when that is. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with your bank or with a different lender by refinancing, interest-only refinancing or whatever. What are also the big takeaways?
I'm trying to think here. Well, you wrote an email the other day. This is something to think about. I'm going to end it on this one about that email title that you had the other day. So we paid cash. We didn't, you just have to be flexible and roll with things. If I had to pick 3 things, one is everything was paid for. 2, we cut our expenses down to very reasonable. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't care if you're living in a townhouse or whatever it is. We look poor right now, like we're living in an RV.
We're literally in a van down by the river.
We're in a van down by the river.
It's not a super cheap van, but
exactly. Hey, but we could be full time in here if we have to.
It's paid for.
Yeah, that's true. So have everything paid for. Knock it off with what you think you need to have. You don't. And then the 3 thing is get your cash together and be ready to buy some stuff. So that's what we were doing too. We weren't taking this money and putting into something stupid. Now we were actually slowly and methodically building up more inventory to do this, to be in a better position for the next time.
Yeah, and really test yourself. Test the things in your life for a single point of failure. If you are in the real estate business and you're selling, let's say if you're a property management company and you're representing one client, I see this happen all the time with management companies because it's easier. And that client says, yeah, we're done. It's not working anymore. Any type of business. If you have a lot of customer concentration, make those changes now.
Diversify.
Assume that you're going to lose that customer.
Yeah.
Another great example of a single point of failure, as much as I hate to say this, is a W-2 job.
That's true.
You get laid off.
What are you going to do?
Plan for that. You need to not be shocked like the rest of the world when they get laid off.
Remember?
The economic outlook for W-2 positions is dire.
Do you remember the number of people that were in Land Academy pre-COVID? There were a number of people I can think of. I could rattle off their names too right now. Really people that did really well, and they came to Land Academy for whatever reason. Probably because they didn't want the W-2. Right? It was pre-COVID. They were in Land Academy learning how to do this. Like, this is great. And maybe I have all these options. I have more options now. COVID came, they got laid off. And they're like, what the heck? And like, thank goodness.
Yeah.
They were saying, thank goodness I had this. You guys taught me how to keep food on the table. And the same thing still applies.
And think about it too, who's in your life and whether or not they can handle that.
True.
Professionally and socially. I had people in my life when everything hit the fan that were not capable. It's not in their makeup to manage negative cash flow and tragedy. And for whatever reason, Jill's hardwired to just change gears at any given time and repair stuff, or just completely, let's try something new.
Thank you. Well, I want to give you some credit too, because one of the things about you, and this will help everybody too, is you come up with amazing ideas. You're really good at building out a business plan and putting numbers to it, really good, solid numbers to see if it would work. And then we just do it and we implement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You are great at that.
Just for basic number purposes, we had to completely restart our lives, Jill and I, together in 2010.
Yep.
We say we did all these deals, all this stuff, and all those statistics are true. But the fact is, we had nothing in 2010.
There was a time when our entire staff, we had a big staff, we have a big staff again right now to manage all the Land Academy parts. But there was a time when we were the staff.
Yep.
This is it. Staff of 2.
I say this to our staff now all the time still. I've had every single one of these jobs, and I failed at every single one of them. That's why you guys are here, because you do it better than I do.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Mm-hmm. This is good. This has been a great conversation. My ending on this was to what you have to look forward to. So you've heard what we've been through, and we've given you our experience and tips and things that we learned along the way. And so you can be watching and preparing and making these changes now. But there's a silver lining when this happens. You titled an email to some investors that we work with, and it was, fortunes are, what was the exact?
Fortunes are made during economic downturns.
Yep.
Some of the greatest fortunes ever were made. They're made out of necessity.
True.
You need to eat. So, hey, that thing I've been thinking about doing for 15 years, I guess now's the time I'm going to do it, and I have to make it work. We had to make that work, and we did.
So be thinking about what you can do. Think ahead. What other property type or what else is on the horizon? What partner you can bring in. Bring in that money guy. That's
why you're part of Land Academy.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of people in this group, Jill and I included, that have a lot of money.
Yep.
And
I want to place it.
We are right. We are waiting for this to start to really tank, where there's just amazing real estate deals out there. Our checkbook's way open for that stuff.
Exactly.
Please incorporate buying and selling other property types, specifically freestanding houses in predetermined markets, and add them to buying and selling land when you go through this.
Yep.
That wasn't inspirational enough, Jill. Do you have something other than that?
Well, I was just thinking about how important it is to be a united front. That's it. This happens in the good times and the bad times. You have to be a united front. You have to be you and whether it's your business partner, your spouse, your, whatever you're paired up with.
Whatever you're paired up with. See how she sneaks it in?
I didn't.
Whatever you're paired up with.
Not like, if you're paired up with this. No, it's just so important. And you need to pause and have those discussions as you're heading into stuff. You need to have temperature checks while you're in the middle of it. And on the way out of it, make sure as you're coming back out of it and you have some positive stuff happening, that you're on the same page with what you're going to do going forward and how you're going to spend it or reinvest, whatever's going to happen. Because not being on the same page will sink the ship right there too. Because it's like one of you's rowing one way and it's never going to work. So I think that was a real critical thing for us, that we still have regular partners meetings. We still call them that, and make sure what we're doing. Our goals are the same. He's never going to send out a mailer, and I'm going to be surprised by it. We talk about, I know what's going on. If we're pivoting to a new property type or a new acquisition type or something, I'm going to know because I'm going to be ready for it, and vice versa. When things come in, I'm really dumping a lot of money on something. I'm not going to surprise him. There's going to be meetings, and we talk about it. So that's my inspirational thing. And do whatever you have to do to make that other person feel comfortable, understand, and be on and rally with you.
We got cut down to our knees in 2009 and 10. And so the consequence of that, or the result of that for me personally, was I made from that point forward, I told myself several times during that, while that was happening, if I ever get out of this, boy, I'm going to do stuff different. And that's now, now we're 15. What is it? 10? It's 15 years later, 14 or 15 years later. And we have seen the result of me making those changes. And, one of the things is a stockpile cash and never have any debt ever, unless it really, really makes sense from a locked in perspective. And, you're spending 20% down on a $10 million asset. So you write a $2 million check and the $10 million asset's now worth 20 because you knew it was.
Right.
I put this question in here for a reason because it really does. It's very pertinent to today's topic. This guy, not Jenny, let's call him. He sent out a bunch of mail. He got somebody who signed it and sent it back and said, we just don't want the asset anymore. Neither does my family. And we'll take 11 grand for what'll probably end up being maybe, let's just call it $80,000, 60 to 80,000. And that's what, those are the kinds of deals that Jill and I do now. If we did all the deals that we knew we could make 20% return on, we would have way, way, way more money than we have now.
Right.
But that's not what we do. We only do surefire deals. And that's one of the results of going through that recession. And we are stockpiling on every deal, a certain percentage of the money that we make, it goes away.
Yep.
Because this is happening, and we've stockpiled a bunch of money because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, we are actively, but now, because of this recession, buying and selling houses and mobile homes and things like that.
All stuff we talk about in Land Academy, and we will in a little while on our member call. Not that wasn't informational enough, but do you have any other little nuggets that you want to share with us today?
I think this was just a ton of nuggets.
It was.
What other nuggets?
I mean, okay, then I didn't know if you had any other little informational thing you want to do.
Oh, no,
then.
that was it.
Oh, okay.
Stockpile cash. That's my inspiration.
My informational thing? Don't spend it.
Yeah.
Love
Just
it.
don't take on any debt.
Yeah.
Do you need a yacht? No, I don't need a yacht. So we don't have a yacht.
There you go.
We have a souped up van. Join us next Wednesday for another interesting episode. You are not alone in your real estate ambition.
We are Jack and Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.
We hope you find our content valuable and we appreciate your support. If you have not already, please check out our channel and hit the subscribe button.
And your comments and suggestions help us to create the content you're here for. Hitting the like button helps to support our channel's algorithm and gauge your interest for future shows.